All right, let's dive into a really fascinating business case today. It's a classic David versus Goliath story, but with a super clever strategic twist. We're going to look at how this unlikely three-way partnership is taking on a titan in the U.S. medical supply industry. Let's get right into it.
So this is the big question, isn't it? The one that keeps business strategists up at night. When a market is pretty much dominated, when one company has already won, how do you even begin to compete? I mean, going head-to-head is basically a suicide mission. So what's the move? Well, this story is a masterclass in finding a completely different game to play.
And this slide just lays it all out, plain and simple. On one side, you've got Medline, the big, slow, powerful incumbent. They're built for huge, high-cost contracts with hospitals. But on the other side, you have this new alliance. They're fast, they're nimble, and they are laser-focused on the low-cost, high-speed world of home care. You see, they're not just playing the game differently, they're not even in the same stadium.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we need to understand the battlefield. It's really a story about a massive market fortress and a whole group of suppliers that pretty much everyone forgot about.
Think of Medline like this fortress they've been building for decades. Their entire company is just a perfectly oiled machine designed to serve the richest customers, these massive hospital systems. Everything they do, from their pricing to their delivery trucks, is built for these giant multi-million-dollar deals. They seem completely untouchable.
But building that huge fortress creates a massive blind spot, and in that blind spot are the small and mid-sized Medicare suppliers, and they are getting absolutely squeezed. They can't afford Medline's prices, they can't order thousands of units at a time, and they're terrified of messing up compliance if they try to source products themselves from overseas. They're totally stuck.
And that feeling is just captured perfectly by this one quote from the source material. This isn't just a small headache for them. No, these smaller suppliers are desperate for a better, safer, more efficient way to run their operations. And that desperation, that's the problem this alliance was built to solve.
So who are the heroes who ride in to solve this problem? Well, it's not one company. It's this carefully crafted, kind of unlikely team-up of three very different organizations. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Each partner brings one critical piece of the puzzle. First up, you have AAEC. They're a U.S. nonprofit. Think of them as the trust layer. They bring the rules, the standards, the compliance know-how. Then you've got DHgate. They're the scale engine, the muscle, with this huge network of factories. And finally, there's Greatway, the fulfillment partner here in the U.S. who actually gets the stuff to the customer. It's like a three-legged stool, right? Take away any one of those legs, and the whole thing just falls apart.
Now here's where the strategy gets really clever. The alliance's big idea isn't just about being cheaper. No, it's about creating something far more valuable in this industry: institutional trust.
Let's be honest, this is the elephant in the room, right? Anytime you're sourcing from overseas, especially in healthcare, you have to fight this perception of cheap China products. It's not just about quality, it's about safety, it's about legal risk. It is a massive psychological wall that a company like DHgate just can't break down on its own.
And that's why AAC is the absolute secret sauce. Because they're an independent, US-based nonprofit, they provide that missing ingredient. They're not trying to sell you anything, they're just there to provide the governance, the education, the framework for doing things the right way. They completely neutralize the fear.
And what happens when you do that? You get this powerful transformation. The alliance doesn't sell cheap products. They provide access to adoptable, compliant elder care supplies. You hear that? That change in language is everything. It shifts the entire conversation away from price and puts it squarely on safety and reliability.
So their positioning is just spot on. I mean, look at how carefully this is worded. They don't call themselves a distributor. No, they're a managed, compliant, cross-border supply chain platform. Every single one of those words was chosen to build trust, to define their niche, and to scream from the rooftops that they are not trying to be another Medline.
Okay, so that's the high-level strategy. But how does it all work in the real world? It's actually pretty simple. They don't sell products, they sell relief. Relief from all those pain points we talked about earlier.
I love this slide because it shows you exactly how they pull it off. They've created total competitive separation. Target buyer, completely different. Cost structure, the exact opposite. Innovation speed, order size, market focus, all different. See, this isn't a head-to-head battle. It's two different companies serving two totally different markets. The alliance wins by choosing not to fight in the first place. Okay, pay close attention, because this might be the single most important slide to understand their long-term success. In a regulated world like Medicare, the words you use are a minefield, so the alliance has to be incredibly disciplined. Notice the words they don't say: guaranteed, approved, anything that sounds like a legal promise. Instead, they use these carefully selected phrases like compliance-aware and documentation-ready. This isn't just playing with words, it's how they build trust without taking on a ton of legal risk.
So just to be crystal clear, they're not just a website to buy stuff. They're selling a whole suite of capabilities to these smaller suppliers. It's an enablement platform. They give them lower costs, smaller orders, and the peace of mind that comes from having that governance layer. That's a way more valuable and way more defensible business model.
Which brings us to the big question, right? Just how big is this overlooked niche? Is this just a nice little side business, or is it something much, much bigger?
Well, the numbers are pretty ambitious. The goal is to hit $400 million in annual revenue in just 4 years. I mean, think about that for a second. That is a nearly $500 million business built entirely in the giant's blind spot.
And the long-term play? The source material suggests this could be a unicorn, a platform with a valuation of over $1 billion. It just goes to show you that what looked like a tiny little niche was actually a massive, underserved market hiding in plain sight.
So let's just recap the pillars of this strategy. Why does it win? Well, it wins because it's smart, not just strong. First, it avoids a fight it knows it can't win. Second, it finds and serves a customer that everybody else had just written off. Third, its entire business model is perfectly matched to the economics of that specific market. And finally, and this is the killer move, it uses the unique credibility of a nonprofit as its ultimate defensible moat.
And that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. This entire case study really boils down to this one powerful question. In a world of giants and fortresses, maybe the greatest opportunity, the best way to win, isn't to lay siege to the castle, but to find and empower the village that everyone else forgot about. What do you think?